Okay, so welcome everyone. We're gonna begin. We're gonna be doing reading today, reading practice. So we're gonna be reading a passage together and then going through a couple questions. Okay, if you guys see any new vocabulary within the reading, feel free to ask. We'll consider it together. Okay, but this is the article that we're gonna be reading. Okay, I'll zoom in here a little bit if you guys can't see. Okay, so we're gonna divide it in paragraphs now. I ask for volunteers. I'll call it the names. Read so you guys can read each paragraph individually as we go. So, Andres, are you here? Can you read the first paragraph up to? Let's see, one second. Let's see if I can divide that. Read here through this part here. All you can see here, and then we'll stop here. This last sentence here. So this will be the last sentence. Okay.
Until there?
Yes. Up to here. Yeah.
Okay. Um, Although the term young adult did not come into common use until the 60s, many scholars contend that the genre uh, of young adult literature began after World War II, when the age group from 12 through 19 gained widespread acceptance as a discrete developmental stage, in contrast to children's literature, which refines the child's place in the world. Young adult literature helps adolescents make sense of their world, discover they are not alone, and find their place in society. Although young adult literature focuses on teenage characters, its dominant themes, many of the same themes explored in global literature law. Um, Good versus evil, personal morality, and the environmental versus society. Do I continue?
Can you, hello? Can you continue reading here?
Oh, okay. Yeah. Whether the story takes place in realistic setting, a fantasy world, or dystopian society, young adult literature explores these themes in ways that help readers navigate the difficult passage. Um, from childhood to adulthood, and encourage them to identify with the characters and imagine how they will meet the same characters.
Same
Challenges.
challenges. Yeah.
Challenges. Roberta S. Treats, a professor of English and specialist in children and young adult literature, posits that young adult literature ultimately reflects the struggle of adolescents to answer the question raised in T.S. Eliot's poem, The Love Song of J. Alfred Prufrock, Do I Dare Disturb the Universe?
All right, up to there. Thank you. All right, this
Okay.
part here, Andrea, will you please read that following?
Yes, yes, yes. A, like the young people who typified its audience, young adult literature has undergone and tumultuous evolution in a relative short time span. B, from the mind 1940s into the early 21st century, it sometimes reflected and sometimes challenged social norms. C. The earliest example may be 17th Summer Maureen Daly, a novel published in 1942 that explored first love and adolescent rites of passage. D. That particular work inspired similar novels focused on the day-to-day concern of teenagers as they develop their own music, language, dress, and attitudes, seeks to distance themselves from their parents and other adults.
All right, thank you. Next paragraph, Pablo, you there? Please.
Okay, in the 1950s and throughout the unruly 1970s, young adult literature took on the character of contemporary society and its treatment of the dominant themes darknet. Two groundbreaking young adult novels are Character, Character in the Rye by J.D. Salinger, published in 1951, and The Outsider by S.E. Hinton, published in 1967, offered mature and realistic looks of troubled adolescence. Dr. Card, an expert in young adult literature, noted that the focus on culture and serious themes in those two novels, among others, made it more acceptable for the next generations of young adults authors to write candidly about teen issues. During the 1970s, young adult readers learned about sexual development in Judy Blumer's Denis, dove into the mysterious society at the heart of Louis Lowry novel The Giver, and suffered with the protagonist as he took a stand against authority in Robert Cornyn's novel The Chocolate War.
Okay, thank you. So I'll read the next paragraph. Says after a brief Yule in which novels featured lighter content, confusing on relatively innocent teens, social drama, or Hollywood style horror, young adults fiction experienced a resur- resurgence of popularity at the start of the 21st century, when authors shifted to unreal topics such as fantasy, the paranormal, and dystopia. Although these novels are set in strange worlds, the characters exhibit emotions and undergo transformative experiences that contemporary teens share and understand. Teens are caught between two worlds, childhood and adulthood. In a young adult literature, they can negative those two worlds, and sometimes duties of the other words, said Jennifer Lynn Barnes, a young adult author and a scientist who studies human behavior. Okay. The last paragraph. Any volunteers? Any volunteers for the last paragraph?
Yeah, I can do it.
Okay, go ahead.
Mm, ye- Yet young adult authors have not completely abandoned realism in favor of fantasy. Novelists such as John Green and Sarah Dessen explore the same themes and adversities in realistic modern day settings. Although they and other contemporary young adult authors do not write about worldwide cataclysm, such as those in Harry Potter, Hunger Games, and Divergent. They do not shrink from the harsh realities of life that individuals must face. Protagonists come up against decisions about self identity, race, gender, sex, and sexuality, which are universal concerns that people of all ages grappled with. Critic Michael Card notes that all young adult literature tackles difficult themes and equips readers for dealing with the realities of impending adulthood and for assuming the rights and responsibilities of citizenship.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you all for your volunteer reading. So I don't know if you guys have seen these movies, but they make the reading more real. Because these are popular. To be or they're known, right? So now let's answer a couple questions that will analyze how well we understood the reading. So in paragraph one, the author of the passage implies that which are the following. All right, let's go to paragraph one. All right, so any of the following you guys think?
Maybe the C.
All right, young adult literature may have been influenced by children's literature. Okay, where did you find that?
Oh yeah, it's not in paragraph one.
Ah, okay. All right.
I think it's the B.
All right. So young adult novels were not written before 1960s.
Me too.
Okay. All right. All right. So it's actually young adult literature is a separate genre from children's literature. All right. So we have it here. right? So we have to make sure the answer is in the paragraph. Know which of the ones fit in best. Okay. So let's see what can help us next time.
There are no keywords in this sentence here, so let's go straight to the answers. A. Young adult literature is a separate genre from children's literature. Can we find that? Well, let's look for children's literature. We see that here. And this sentence starts with, in contrast to children's literature, blah, 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 blah. Young adult literature, blah, 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 blah. Now, notice this, in contrast to, and we have the contrast between children's literature and young adult literature. This says they are simply separate. Imagine if they were not separate. We would have young adult literature and we would have children's literature. How can we contrast these if there is a space that is in both of them? How can we contrast something that is one thing? This cannot be contrasted. So they must be separate. I can't spell. It is contrasted with an N. They must be separate. They must be like this with young adult and children's, so that we can make that contrast and compare how they are the same or different instead of being together in one group. So A is correct. B.
All right. So we saw that, right? Okay. So look out for those questions, right? They focus on one paragraph only. All right. So why does the author mention the poem, "The Love Song" of J. Alfred Portflock in paragraph 1? So let's look for that. Let's look for the that part. So we have the name here. Okay. So why does the author mention that book? Oh, that song. Sorry.
I think it's the B.
Okay. So to suggest a fundamental theme of young adult literature. Okay. So we don't know the song, right? We don't know what it contains, but what does it say? What does it mention about it?
because in the article that that the adult literature ultimately reflects the struggle of adolescence.
Right. Okay. To answer the question raised in TS, right? Okay. So we have that as an option. Let's look throughout the rest of them. All right. So whenever you decide for the final answer, we'll go for that one. All right. So that'll be the last answer you choose. You guys agree?
What is the option, teacher? The B?
You B. Yeah. All right. I'll submit and we'll look further. Okay. All right. Very good. Actually, it does have that. Okay. 1 second. All right. So next question says the phrase that particular work in paragraph 2 refers to that particular work.
Option A, I think. Passage.
Passage. Okay. So the similar works about similar novels focusing on day-to-day concerns of teenagers as they develop their own music, language, dress, and attitude, seeking the distance to distance themselves from their parents and other adults. So will it be the 17th summer? Would it be the first love? What does it mention? Anything about first love? What do you think, Andres or Andrea? You guys there? Andrea?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, Andres, what do you think?
Mm, exploration.
Exploration. Okay, so explorations about similar novels focus on their day-to-day concerns
Yes, I changed my answer for exploration.
as well. Okay. All right. So it was actually 17th of summer. So let's see why it was mentioned before, right? Right before that D. So it says that particular work. We have it here. Okay.
All right, let's take a look at the paragraph to see what that particular work might refer to. And note this word that. It probably is about something that happened in the previous sentence. So here we have that particular work refers back to something in this sentence. The earliest example may be 17th Summer by Maureen Daly, a novel published in 1942 that explored first love and adolescent rites of passage. And you might see that our answer choices, passage, first love, exploration, 17th Summer, they are all represented here in this sentence. Now, which one is a work? Well, what do we mean by work here? If you are unclear about what the meaning of work is in this specific context, then it might help to look at the rest of the sentence, because this is a subject and here is a verb. This work spawned. Ooh, now that's another difficult word. That is a rare word. Spawned means that it gave birth to or created. In this case, it didn't actually create them, but it influenced similar novels. And even if you don't know the word spawned, you can understand that these similar novels are similar to 17 Summer, because that is the only other novel mentioned here. So something did something to similar novels about the concerns of teenagers after 17th Summer. Now we're referencing back to the previous sentence, right, with the word that. So what changed similar novels? What affected similar novels? Did the adolescent rites of passage affect similar novels? That doesn't really work. These adolescent rites of passage are things that are inside the novel 17th Summer. They did not change other novels. In fact, the only thing that really works here, that makes sense here, is 17th Summer, because this book is a work, that is an artistic work, which influenced, which changed other similar books. And explored doesn't really work here, doesn't make sense here for much the same reason as rites of passage, because that is something that happened inside the book, not something that happened because of this book. So that work is an artistic work, it is a novel, it is 17th Summer. And one final note, the answer choice passage cannot be correct because it is in the phrase rites of passage. And this is a set phrase. We don't care about the word passage alone, we care about this whole phrase, rites of passage. And those are things that everybody goes through when they grow up. For example, maybe graduating school is a rite of passage, assuming you graduated school. Okay, so again, the correct answer must be 17th Summer. It is the only artistic work in this list.
Okay. So that's how you catch that. If something's mentioned before, so similar, or they may even ask for the it part. It's it in the sentence or in the same paragraph can refer to something mentioned before. You'll see that in other questions that you may face. Okay, so the word unruly in paragraph 3 is closest in meaning to what? Unruly. What do you guys understand by that?
Maybe chaotic 60s.
Check. So what does unruly mean? So if you know the meaning is disorderly and disruptive and not unable to discipline or control. So ruly means rule, right? So chaotic, can be because it's something that causes conflict, right? Something that is not controlled. Progressive, could it be? Progressive is something that is good, right? So you agree with that, Andres?
I don't know. I have some doubts.
Okay.
Um,
What do you think?
I think it's entire or chaotic. I don't know.
Okay. So
Um,
let's look for the definition of chaotic. Means marked by chose or being in a state of completely confused or disordered.
yeah, I think it's chaotic.
Okay. Right. Because it's unruly.
Unruly is the opposite of a rule, maybe.
Yes. Ruled. Correct. All right. So according to paragraph 3, young adult authors were able to write more honestly because what reason? All right. So let's go to third paragraph.
I think it's B.
Okay. So B, young adults desire novels that address contemporary issues. All right. We'll go with that. But it mentions, well, it mentions more about realistic novels, but let's see.
I think it's the three.
Okay. Check it out. All right. So it was the third one. So right. It mentions realistic novels. Right. Because of that, we have that. All right. Let's see what we can learn from it.
The key word here is honestly. But if we look through the text, we actually find nothing here about honesty unless we know the meaning of candidly. This is very similar to honestly. It means that you are not lying and you are not trying to hide anything. You are saying clearly and plainly, and not adding to and not avoiding any extra problems or other issues. You're saying it directly and honestly. Now, this word is pretty rare. It's not a common vocabulary word, so maybe you don't know it. And that makes this much more difficult because this question is really based on the meaning of the word candidly. But maybe you can infer that it is more acceptable for young adult authors to write honestly about teen issues, or to write plainly, or to write directly, because after that we see this bit about sexual development, and this book about sexual development, well, probably earlier it was not acceptable to write about sexual development. That seems like something that would have happened later, because this is a little bit controversial, maybe. And so people can't write honestly about it because it is controversial. So you might be able to infer that something changed here, and authors wrote more directly about these issues, and like taking a stand against authority, a very teen type issue. And you can also maybe infer it because these mature and realistic looks at troubled adolescence, again, they have to be honest if they are going to be realistic, right? So, if we know the word candidly, it helps. If not, maybe we can infer the meaning, or that it's around here that we're talking about honesty. But let's look back at our question, and that was looking for a reason. Why could they write more honestly? If we look at this sentence here, it says that these young adult authors were able to start writing more candidly because these two novels made it more acceptable. So, what two novels are those? That is A Catcher in the Rye and The Outsiders. Those two novels, and others also, made it more acceptable. Now, what is special about these novels? Well, that is given here. They offered mature and realistic looks at troubled adolescence. So these books and other books in the 1950s and 60s gave realistic descriptions of teenage life, and those helped to make it more acceptable to write honestly. Now that is shown in C. A string of realistic novels, more realistic novels, paved the way for mature subject matter. Paved the way means that it made it possible. They started it, and then others were able to follow because they made a path, they made a road, they made a direction where others could also go. And the string of more realistic novels, this is a group of books that happens one after the other. Here's one, here's another, here's another, here's another, and they become basically a string. So that describes The Catcher in the Rye and The Outsiders and others as well, among others. So C is correct.
All right. So you could have gone through that, see the difference of the books mentioned, so that we can do that next time. You know, when a similar question is asked. All right. So in paragraph 2 and 3, the author mentioned all the following of themes in young adult literature except which of the following? Anything about physical mat- matulation? Maturate? We do see that they mention teenage romance, right? Rebellion against leadership.
Um, I'm not sure, but the three one, the origin of cultural trends.
Origin of cultural trends.
I'm not sure.
Okay.
I will say.
All right, Andres, what do you think?
Yeah, I think the third one is for me.
That one?
Um,
Okay.
I between rebellion and origins, but I think it's origins of culture trends.
Okay. Let's check it out. All right, very good. Good job, good teamwork. All right. That was the last question for today. Okay. So how you guys feel with the reading? You guys feel like you understand? Is it difficult or is it easy? Is it maybe just like you have to read it on your own pace? Next time we'll try that. We'll try to let you guys read it on your own and then we'll go through the questions. Okay?
Yeah, I think that's better because yes. Mm.
Sounds good. We'll do that next time. So that'll be all for today. You guys were great. Thank you for participating and helping to you know to to do it together with the class. Very good. All right, you guys can just answer the last question, and we'll continue with the further. All right. See you in the following class.
Okay, bye, teacher. Thank you.
You.